As I sit here today contemplating the latest news I'm receiving about the mRNA vaccines, a quote comes to mind that I heard many years ago. It went something like, "No one ever went broke underestimating the intelligence of the American public." Upon research, I discovered the actual quote that goes like this: "No one in this world, so far as I know, and I've searched the records for years and employed agents to help me, has ever lost money by underestimating the intelligence of the great masses of the plain people, nor has anyone ever lost public office thereby. The mistake that is made always runs the other way, because the plain people are able to speak and understand, and even in many cases to read and write. It is assumed that they have ideas in their heads and an appetite for more. This assumption is a folly." H.L. Mencken, The Sun, September 18, 1926. An article published on 21 April 2021 by Stephen Finlay at pbs.org entitled "The Shock and Reality of Catching COVID After Being Vaccinated" referenced the term breakthrough infections. This term troubles me, and I'd like to take a moment to discuss it, as I do have ideas in my head and an insatiable appetite for more. The article notes that the CDC has defined the term breakthrough infection to mean illness or a positive test 2 weeks or more after complete vaccination. Also relevant is that tens of thousands who have taken their first shot of the double-dose vaccine or are short of 2 weeks after the second are also becoming infected. Science is playing God and experimenting with the people. The experimentation may help some people, but not without help from God. Now, science and allopathic medicine still must depend upon the God-given immune system we were all born with for a vaccine to be of any benefit. This factor is why, despite the research that has been done, people becoming infected and getting sick isn't going away. Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca produced vaccines that were discovered to cause blood clots in some people and were put on hold, having no explanation for the discovery. Yet, on April 23rd, the CDC reaffirmed their support for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because the benefits outweigh the risk. This begs the question, to whose benefit? You can't have a breakthrough infection when there is no protection to break through. None of these vaccines can guarantee safety in the first place. They can only shoot at a moving target that is constantly moving. Everyone's immune system will respond differently depending upon how compromised it is to begin with. Yet this particular vaccine has risen to the point of almost being mandatory. For what? They've got all these little bottles of vaccine that no one wants for a good reason, and because the drug pushers can't get enough adults to accept them, it recently became fair game to give them to children. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you not to take a vaccine if you're okay with it, but I can only hope that this worldwide pandemic will cause you to be aware of a couple of things. First, every country is not experiencing the same infection levels and death of the so-called healthy as in the United States and in Europe. Second, these nations are varying nationalities with a common thread: a diet that includes large consumptions of wheat. Other countries of varying ethnicities with more minor infections and deaths, generally Asian, choose rice, maize, or corn, and sweet potatoes over grains. Now, Americans love toasted cereals in the morning, so much that our local supermarket usually dedicates an entire aisle to those products. The statistics don't lie, but the status quo avoids telling the truth, supported by mainstream media. But let me remind you again that no one has ever lost money or public office by underestimating the intelligence of the great masses of the plain people. Here's the truth. Diseases, whether naturally occurring or man-made, require a healthy immune system to combat them. If your immune system is overtaxed by the food you eat and the other toxins you may be exposed to, your chances may be very slim. Most degenerative diseases are the result of nutritional deficiencies. If not from your negligence, then from the woman's failure you came from through no fault of your own. Since the nutrition is lacking from the food you have eaten all your life, you must supplement. When you consume nutritional supplements, they must be absorbed. If they merely pass through your body, you can't provide it with what it needs to stay healthy. What you don't digest in the gut never makes it to the bone marrow to produce T cells, white blood cells, platelets, and all the other incredible elements that create antibodies that keep you well. Now, by the grace of God, I survived COVID since I abandoned gluten years ago and cleaned up my act considerably. I didn't require hospitalization, but I had a rough time because of over 60 years of consuming gluten. This is why babies and young children shrug COVID off like a cold. They're not overburdened with gluten and toxicity from our environment yet. 70% of your immune system is right there in your gut. So the first thing to do is get off gluten. Take care of your flesh while you're still in it and get my new book, The 7 Steps to Naturally Stronger Immunity and Pandemic Survival, to learn how. It is available in print or electronic book formats through our website, vitalitynowhealth.com, Amazon, other book retailers, or as an audiobook on Audible and iTunes. The status quo wants a cashless society, so we are being forced into this great reset. Well, okay, but good health will always be worth much more than money. Remember, God heals. The physician just collects the fee.